Hello everybody, and thank you very much for coming and watching my YouTube channel. Today I've decided I am just going to have a play. So I've got a blank page. This is my Pink Pig 8x8 journal. I've found a blank page. I think I'm going to go, yeah, I'll go with blank page on this one. And let's see what I put on it. I know I'm going to start off with acrylics, but that's as far as I've got. So I have my fabulous Dina Wakley acrylics, and I'm literally just grabbing a handful of colours, and I know in here I also have distress paint. I only own 2 lots of distress paint at the moment. There's the Crackling Campfire, which is one of the newer ones towards the end of last year. We're in a new year. And then this one, which is the Wilted Violet, but this one's gone off. I don't know if you can see that it's not liquid, but it's still usable-ish. It's just thick and a bit gloopy, but it is still possible to use it. So I'm using those. I've got that for getting the purple one out. I've got a mini brayer that I've just gotten by getting a box from the Papercraft Society, the Lynette Jasper crafting box. So let's get crafting. I'm just gonna, literally, I'm not gonna give much thought to what I'm doing, and we'll see what we end up with. We'll not worry too much about it. So I hope everyone's keeping well at the moment and managing to stay well in these uncertain times. This is interesting using a smaller brayer because you don't get the same level of coverage. It's really quite cool. Oh, I'm liking this so far. I haven't been on here for quite a while because unfortunately at the beginning of the year I managed to contract COVID. Now I am lucky, I did not get really unwell with it. I just got mildly unwell with it, really. I know there are people who were far more unwell than me, but it did wipe me out, and anyone who has had it, I really hope that you are fully recovered and functioning, because I know that even now I'm not 100%, but I'm far better than I was and far better than I could have been. So I'm not complaining, but just explaining why I haven't been doing any videos recently, because I've been poorly. So I thought I'd have a go at doing some more and see how we get on. You know what, I'm quite liking this. Just as a mucky page. Add a little bit of turquoise. So this one's Ocean. I do love these Dina Wakley paints. I think they're brilliant because of the little nib that you get on them. It just makes it easier to control your paint coming out. And I do love these 3 colours together. I'm actually going to open this out so that my page, what's on the other side? Oh, it's quite a lumpy page on the other side. It's not necessarily going to come out any smoother, but it might a little bit smoother. But we're just at the moment trying to get a little bit of colour down, so I'm not too worried if it's got lumps and bumps in it. In fact, I quite like lumps and bumps in it. Right, and all I'm doing with the excess is rollering it off onto a piece of card. You can see rollering it onto black actually works quite well. You get a different tone, but it's quite nice. Okay, so we've got a basis. I'm going to quickly dry it off just so that it's nice and settled for the next layer that we put on, because I want that to stop at that point. I don't want it to mix any further, so we need to set it. Now we've got this nice and dry, I am going to add another layer, and I'm thinking this layer is going to be the distress paint. And as I say, this one is, unfortunately, it's gone off a little bit. It was how it came, and the company that I bought it from were really good. They just refunded fully, but they checked the rest of their stock and all their stock had gone off. So unfortunately they weren't even able to send me out a replacement. But I still think this colour is amazing. And look at that, it is so wonderfully vibrant. And with it being thicker, you're actually getting some lovely depth. It's almost like working with oils. or how I imagine it is. I've never actually worked with oils, and that is something that I would like to try, is the application of oils with a palette knife, because I think that would be amazing to get some really good texture and depth. But this is quite nice, it's giving me quite a nice texture. So I'm going to stop there with the purple. So remember, this is just the background, so I don't know what's going on top of it yet, haven't decided. I haven't even got anything out and ready to use that I'm thinking, oh, that'll go. At the minute I'm just putting things on. So again, I'm going to blast this, and then we'll move on to the next stage. So this isn't entirely dry just yet, there's still some areas that are a bit damp, but it's dry enough for what I need. Now I told a slight fib before, I did actually have these out on my desk, which are all stencils from Clever Prints, designed by Emma Blake. And this one, look, you can tell which one I haven't used. So this one's got a hint of green on it, this one's got a hint of turquoise on it, and this one's just clean. But I really like this one, and I think this one goes. Not the flower, I don't want to use that flower, but I love those lines, and I'm wondering, I think I'm going to use that, but with some crackle gels. So we have, I think those are the three colours I'm going to use. That's not quite the right green. So pop that one back in and see. Oh, I think that might be a better purple. Yeah, we'll go with that one. Doesn't look very purple on the screen, but it is actually closer to purple than it is to blue, although on the screen it's looking a bit blue. Right, so again I'm going to use the palette knife. I'm going to put these through the stencil, but then what I'm going to have to do is actually leave this to dry naturally, and the reason I'm doing that, I don't normally do that, but this time I'm going to, because I want the crackles. A lot of the time, I'm going to swap that palette knife for one with a rounded end. A lot of the time I will do a heat set with this, but this time I actually want the crackles, because when you heat set it you lose the crackles. You get a phenomenal texture, but you don't get the crackles, and I really want the crackles on this one. I just think they're in keeping with this particular piece that I'm working on. I want to get that little cross in there as well, star rather than cross. So we'll bring a little bit in there, and then we'll lift that off. Now I think I would like to add a different colour, so I'm going to just scrape that crackle off back into the jar, wipe my palette knife clean, pop my lid on, and then get a different colour. And I'm going to go with a green. So these are from Pretty Gets Gritty. You'll see well, you can obviously see they're a one-stage crackle. So it is a case of put it on, let it dry, you get crackle. It's that simple. I haven't cleaned my stencil, so I'm going to get some striations of the purple, which I think looks kind of cool. You'll also see these are translucent, so you get the colour, but you also still see what's going on underneath, which I absolutely love. So I think for today, you know what, I'm going to add some turquoise but without the stencil. Wipe off my knife again. I just love this turquoise colour, it's beautiful. I'm going to add some of this just as a little piece of texture. I'm going to add it down here with that other piece of texture, just to give us two mixing textures. No other reason than I fancied it. And I also think on this piece of purple we could do with some of the turquoise. So bear in mind, this is going to give you colour, it's going to give the texture that you can see I'm putting on there, so there's lines, and then it's going to crack, and the cracks are bigger if you put it on thicker. So you'll see, because I'm putting it on with a knife, there's some thicker bits and some thinner bits. The thicker bits will have larger cracks, the thinner bits will have smaller cracks. It's quite clever stuff. I've no idea how it works, but it does. So I will leave this overnight and I will come back to it tomorrow once it's all nicely crackled, and we'll see what we're going to do next. Following on from yesterday, this piece has now dried overnight, and I don't know if you're able to see, oh you can, that fabulous crackle on the crackle gel. So up here it's a bit thicker, so we're getting some quite big cracks, and then if we look here it's thinner and the cracks are quite tiny. Then we go over here, they're titchy tiny on this bit here. So the crackle gel is brilliant because it does that. If it's thicker, it gets a bigger crack, thinner, it gets a smaller crack, and I love it. And I love the way it works through stencils, it just goes through them beautifully. But everything here is now totally dry. So what can we add on to it? And I'll be honest with you, I really don't know. I haven't got anything in front of me that I'm planning on using. I am just playing. So what can I reach for? I wonder. See, I'm really drawn to the idea of using, I've got some gel pens and they're kind of blueies and greenies, some of them. I'm wondering if they would be interesting to start putting on. I think they're the blues and greens that I have. So I'm wondering if we start using them and see what we end up with. So we can start adding in. One of the things with gel pens is they go on a lot of things. They don't go on everything, but these are the Sakura Jelly Roll, and they do go on a lot of things. So you can start doing things like adding in cross stitches, so it looks like you've sewn your piece into your paper. And I like doing things like this because it just is adding interest. And we can even cross stitch over some of the crackle gel. Doesn't go brilliantly over the crackle gel, but you can tell it's there. So I'm just going to do a little bit there, and I want a little bit more of this colour, so we'll put it up here. It goes beautifully over the acrylic. So obviously there's a little bit of texture to this, because if you remember, this was the distressed paint that's actually gone off. So yeah, I like how it's responding on there. Let's add in a bit of green. And this one, we're just going to do straight lines, as if we've done some straight stitching of two pieces of purple together. And we'll do some up here. We'll add it in here. Straight lines. Come down here because it drops down a bit. Down a bit more. Over here. And then we've got some side bits to do as well. So it just starts to add interest to what you're working on, and I think they're showing up really nicely actually. So these are the metallic Jelly Roll pens, and I quite like them. They're a new addition to my stash, so I am just getting to grips with them and what you can use them for. I've had white Jelly Roll pens forever, but this is the first time I've had coloured Jelly Roll pens, and I think I might quite like them. They're a bit nice. So we've used those. Let's go with a paler green, and that can go on top of the purple, I think. And this one we're going to do dashes and dots. This is kind of about just playing and adding bits where you want them to be. So we'll do some dashes and dots down here. We're stitching that piece on top of the other and back up here. I'm not worried that I'm going off here because it is just all adding to the background. I feel like we're missing some here, what colour's that? That's green. I don't really want green there. I think blue would go there. So let's use the blue. And I'm going to go back to the cross because I just love the effect of having a cross going across your page. Then we can take that one up there because there's a different colour going there. So you just look in what you've got in your picture and start doodling using it. There's no rules. Do what you like. Now there's a type of art or a concept called moodling, and you can look into what moodling is. And when you first put in Moodle, it's an educational board of trying to organise your work, and it's used mainly at universities and things. So it exists in that format. But when you look at it in reference to art, what you'll find is it's the concept. It was originally developed as a concept by writers, and the writers would sit. The concept is you sit in a room in silence and do nothing. You just sit, and if the words come to you while you're sitting in the room, you write them, and if a single word comes to you, you write it. If no words come to you, you don't write anything. And it's the art of relaxing the mind sufficiently to let it flow. And doing things like this, it's doodling, isn't it? But it's often now referred to as a moodle because it's about what mood you're in, what are you in the mood for doing. So it's kind of the meaning of it's been changed within art and craft. But the original process was to do with people wanting to write. So there you go. I'm going to go along this one with the vertical lines because it's wonderfully higgledy-piggledy. So we need the lines to cross all the joins. Perfect. I think I want a little bit up here as well. So we'll pop some more Chrissy crosses on. So I'm not really focusing. I couldn't even tell you what colour I'm using. Oh, this is a green one. Okay. I'm not focusing on the colour. I'm just putting pen to paper and seeing where we end up. So we're starting to get some interest on that page now, which is what I was after. Now I need to decide what to do next with it. Right, I've had an idea. I have here, when I do a project and get new dies, I cut them out a few times and pop them in one of these boxes because they're just small enough to hold a few. But I'm thinking, look at that, these pieces in this colour. So these are from a craft box that I got from Papercraft Society, and they're rather wonderful. They're designed by Lynette Jasper from Pretty Gets Gritty, and they're just fab. But look, we've got cogs and all sorts. So the papers that these have been cut out of are die cuts of pages that I've made using my gel press. So they're not bought papers, it's card that I've used on the gel press that I'm then using to cut up and add to bits, and yeah. So you can do what you like with your gel prints, they don't have to remain whole. What I like about this, we get this fabulous piece. Let me show you this piece. We get this piece. Now this piece has also got debossing of circles on it, so they don't all cut out. You can probably see it better on the back. Some of them just deboss, so you've got little droppy in bits, but you also get lots of circles that you've cut out. So these circles, just in their own right, add decoration, which is rather good. Now they do come with stamps, and do I want to use the stamps? I don't think I do at the minute. That's quite clever, isn't it, that you can pop that on there and it's now a light bulb. Well, it is a light bulb, but it looks more so because you've popped the top bit on. And then we can have a second light bulb here. Oh, they look nice. I want to use this, but I could use part of it here and then another part of it over here or up at the top. That's good. I like this as well. I like the idea. I'm just going to snip this into whatever proportions it ends up in and use that, because I quite like that. Now, I'm terrible for auditioning pieces, and I really want to get better at not auditioning pieces and just putting them straight down without thinking, but I'm not there yet. So we could pop that there and pop that on top of it, couldn't we? And then add in some copies. We're going to do that, I think. Right. So we're going to roughly cut that in half, which is terribly badly cut, but we'll not worry about it. Thinking that needs to be a little bit further down, so it's not too close to this one. And then this bit can go down here. I'm going to overhang these and then snip away the edges, because I'm not patient enough to get my cutter out, which would be the logical thing to do. And then we're going to pop these bits on top, like so. Oh, it's handy that I had these colours. I'm quite impressed. I'm liking the way this is looking. Now, what I sometimes do when I'm making something look like this is I make it and I'll then photograph it at this point, because then I remember where everything's meant to go. Oh, that's still got a middle in it. Let's give it a poke. There we go, it's not got a middle in anymore. So don't worry about covering up what you've already done. It doesn't matter, it's a background. You've enjoyed doing it, you've gotten pleasure out of it. It doesn't matter that you're then covering it up with other pieces. I think that would be better under that one, and then this one needs to go under this one. I tell you, this set, oh, it's got a centrepiece again. I've obviously not been very good with my pokey tool. This paper crafting box is, I mean, it's the first one I've ever had, and it's just brilliant. Dead impressed with it. I'm thinking they need to come up slightly. Oh yes, I rather like that. Right, I'm just going to get sticking now so I don't change my mind. Lift you off, get my glue. So I'm just using Cosmic Shimmer glue. I'm going to use it on the back of my hand for putting the cogs and the finer pieces on. You can do this on your craft mat if you don't want to do it on your hand, but I've just always done it on my hand, and then I get a piece of scrap paper and spread it out, so you've then got somewhere to put whatever you want to stick into the glue. And it means you get a decent covering of glue across the whole piece. So if I wanted to use to stick this and just put the glue on it, I'd either need a very fine nib, which I don't have, or something like this, where I can actually just get the glue off my hand, like so, and then pop that on there. There we go. Got a really quick grab time, that glue, as well, so you can see they're already stuck. I like glue with a good grab time for this sort of thing, because then you're actually committed. If you leave it too long, you'll start umming and ahhing. So I'm not convinced I've got enough glue on there. Pop a bit more on my hand. You also get the pleasure with this of peeling it off. I used to do that at school. I still do it now as an adult. One of the many advantages of being a crafter. There we go. There's another little one. I'm going to intentionally bring that in a little bit narrow, so it doesn't just look like it's been cut off the other side of that, even though we know it has. I don't want it to look like it has. Right, let's stick these other cogs on. can use up what's on my hand. Whoop. Before it dries. This glue does dry clear, so don't worry if you get it on top of things. It dries really clear. Right. Okay, so now I've done the little bits, I can start using the glue just as a glue bottle on the rest. As these have got some decent sized bits to whiz the glue on. And then if you want to spread it out, you have fingers. I remember I used to, years and years ago, I used to be quite fussy about using glue spreaders and sticks and things. Nowadays, that doesn't happen. I just use my finger. Right, so we know that's going to be wonky because I just cut it roughly, so I'm going to intentionally overhang it and then trim it back. So we'll pop that there. And stick this one on. Oh, stick at that end, don't be naughty. Pop a bit of glue on if you're not sticking. There we go, you'll stick now, won't you? You little so-and-so. You little so-and-so. Quite enjoying this one. It's good fun. I do love these colours though. I'm very much a purple and turquoise kind of girl. They're my two favourite colours. So this piece sings to me. I'd say it makes me sing, but I sing badly, so I won't say that. If you find a piece keeps popping up, that's popping up because the previous page has got a lot of stuff on it, so it's curved. So just come back when it's a little bit more tacky and you'll find it'll stick down. Sometimes you just need to give the glue time to slightly go off to enable it to then stick effectively. So don't panic. It's absolutely fine if something doesn't quite stick the way you want it to. It's always retrievable. Right, put you there with a slight overhang so I can trim you back. Get rid of that bit that was coming out. And what I'm going to do to stick the rest on is open up the page again, just so that I'm working on a slightly flatter surface, which is what we want really. So there's still lumps and bumps because of the page underneath, but it's a bit flatter than having the bow of the book. Okay, a little bit more. There's something very satisfying about sticking stuff together and then sticking it on a page, and the page starts to look interesting. Now with what I would normally do is very carefully go around all these white edges. On this one I'm not going to, because there's white space and there's white here. White is a colour that is in this piece, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to leave them white, which isn't like me at all, but it's what I'm going to do today. And I'm not sure I want that one on at all. I don't think I do want that one on. What else do I have in that colour? Oh, we have a butterfly. What about a little butterfly? Oh, I think I like that. Do I like it with or without? I like it with. Right, so I'm going to add little bits on. I'm just going to stick this on because I know I want that there. Because if I keep leaving it there, I'm going to change my mind and it's just not going to work. Right, stick my bulb on. There we go. And then pop the whole thing. I'm just going to hold that for a second longer because, as I say, it's quite a quick grab glue, but you want to make sure it's stuck. You don't want things to pop up. So this bit here is stuck. This bit will now stick because it's got a little, there you go, that's stuck now. So we just need to wait for the same with these. If you want it to stick quicker, use a dry glue, so use your double-sided tape. Simple solution. Right, pop this out of the way. Like so. And I'm going to do a little bit of fiddly faddling on here with these little gel pens, just to bring in the fact that this has a body in the middle of it. What I've discovered with gel roller pens is you can't get away with moving fast with them. You have to take your time and give a chance for the ink to actually transfer from the pen onto the substrate. If you go too fast, if I do that, it doesn't do it as well. You just want to give it time for that ink to come out. And then I think we're going to go around the edges with a little bit. I'm intentionally doing a wibbly line just to add a little bit more definition. And then I think if we do it in a different green as well. So I'm not being very technical here, I'm not being very careful about how I'm drawing it. It is just adding interest to something that's already there. So I'll bring that up to camera so you can see it. So you can see there's now just a couple of lines on with the jelly rolls. They've got a little hint of shimmer and they just tone in with the colours that we're already using, and it makes them a bit more interesting. So back to our page, and we need to pop little Mr. Butterfly on here. I don't know why I said Mr. Butterfly. It could be a Mrs. Butterfly, or a Ms, or a Master, or a Miss. I think he's a Mister in my mind. I think I prefer him that way. I'm going to keep him quite flat because there's a lot of bulk around him in the journal, both behind him and opposite him, so I'm not going to make him stand out 3D. I'm going to stick all four of his wings down in the middle and then a little bit up onto his antenna, just because I don't want any more bulk in my journal than is necessary. That's the only reason. Now I'm rather liking this page, rather liking it. It does need to be framed though. Let me find the lid of my glue, because it's a tiny little lid that once upon a time was attached to the glue, but is no more, and will disappear very promptly given the opportunity, I think. Right, I'm going to cut off those edges that I've overlapped here, so you can see here. Let's see if these scissors will do it. I don't know, they're not going to be any good. Let me get a different pair of scissors. There we go. My scissor fetish comes in handy occasionally. Where did that other piece go? Oh, there it is. I couldn't see for looking. And then we have this one here to do the same with. Right, I'm not going to worry about getting this bit on camera because it's proving quite difficult to get on camera, so bear with me and I shall chop this edge off. It's really not wanting to play. So I'm cutting through about 600 GSM, so it's quite thick, which is probably why it's not playing with the scissors. But it will suffice. I might come back in and try and get that with a knife afterwards. Okay, so I can't remember which colour I said I was going to do, but I'm quite liking this blue. So I'm going to do what I do on all my projects, and that is just do a not very straight line across everything, but I'm doing it in a jelly roll. I quite like these jelly rolls, they're pretty nifty. So as I say, I've had the white jelly roll for many years, but until this week I haven't owned a coloured jelly roll, but I like it. And then to add a little bit more interest, I'm just going to go back over some of the line and double back on myself, and where there's a gap, fill it in. So I'm doing something a bit different. Usually I do little writing squiggles, but I just thought this is a little bit different. Let's see what we end up with. It's still having the same effect. We're still providing a frame to our work, which is the whole reason for doing this, to draw the eye in to the centre of the picture so that it can see what we've been creating. So there's no fancy method of doing this. It is quite literally get your pen and doodle. So you can be as careful as you want to be, or you can be as lax as you want to be, whichever style you prefer. So I'm roughly just flipping backwards and forwards every 1 or 2 centimetres, and then we get these gaps that need to be filled in, and it adds a little bit of depth to the frame that we're putting on, rather than just having a single line. Some of it I'm just going over the top of the line that's already there, and that is fine as well. I do like just these finishing touches. They can just bring everything together for you, and it's useful to have them. Sometimes you look at a piece of work that you do and you think, what's wrong with it? And sometimes something as simple as popping a frame round it or mounting it on a piece of card that's a different colour just makes things pop. So if you ever look at something and think, I like what I've made but it doesn't sit right, just try putting it on a piece of black card and see what effect that has. Right, we're very nearly done, folks. I need my white pen now that I've been talking about. So this is my jelly roll in white, which I've had, I think this is probably about number 6 that I've had. I do go through them, and I'm just adding in some little white highlights to little bits. We'll have it on there, we'll have some on these. We'll have a little bit coming down on this side, and a little bit coming down here. And I also want to put some in these just to make them look a little bit more 3D. What you'll find with using this, if whatever you're writing on is a water-based or water-reactive product, and then you put a jelly roll pen on top, that colour is going to show through, so you're going to get kind of a paler version. You're not going to get a bright white. So if you've ever put it on and you think, well, why is that not coming through the colour I want, just think about what you've put it on. If you put it straight onto printed paper, then it's going to come through bright white. If you put it onto something like this, which is a print using this one's actually using brushos, which are water reactive, so you're adding something wet to something that's water reactive, you're going to get the colour passing on to what you're putting on top, and that's why it's a little bit more muted. It's not a bright white, it's almost more like a pale version of the colour underneath. So bear that in mind. And then coming down here, again you'll see this gradually take on the colours that it's on top of. I'm just going back up this, making it a little bit thicker. So you'll find this with Posca pens or with gel pens. They just tend to take on the colour underneath. I think I'm quite happy with that page. I'm going to call that done. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you will like and share this video and subscribe so that you get notifications about the other videos that I put up. Have a look at the other videos I've done. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask me. Follow me on other social media. I'm on Facebook, Angie B Cards and Crafts, on Instagram, Angie Mary B, and I hope you will join me again. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.